Hi guys, so welcome back to the channel. And finally, I'm not recording a CF video and I'm recording something else. So today I'll be recording a lecture on, not a lecture, but kind of a step-by-step tutorial on SPSS and how to create an output data in SPSS and interpret that. So this is basically for the MDA class. Now, this is my second time recording the video because I forgot to share the screen properly and the entire recording was useless. So I'll share my screen. Hopefully everything is visible. And okay, so let's get started with the output. So this was the inputs that were given to us in SPSS. So I'll just copy these inputs and put them in Excel as well. Okay. So let's make a new sheet. Okay, so this was the data that was given to us. Training was given, revenue, experience in whether there's experience or not. So 0 means there no experience, 1 means experience, 1 means training, and 0 means no training. Number of employees, number of years of operation, and the number of products that the company has. And based on this, we have to kind of, it's related to export data. And using that export data, you can figure out the impact of each variable on export. Okay. So first let's do it on SPSS, then I'll copy the relevant information from SPSS and put them here in Excel. So let me just, okay, we'll come back to Excel in a bit. So all you can see over here is that let me close the output file, otherwise it will keep waiting. Yeah, no. Okay, so we have these variables given with us, and I'll try to do the SPSS thing in a normal speed. If you want to follow along, you can reduce the speed or pause in between to make sure that you line. But just to make sure that the video does not exceed a long duration, I'll do it in a normal speed. Okay, so these are the variables that are given to us. Go to analyze, then go to dimension reduction and go to factor. Now, because I've done this earlier, it's showing here, but normally it would be all over here. Select all the variables that are relevant and put them into the variables column. Go to the descriptive. Now, by default, initial solution will be selected. Select the coefficient and the KMO and Bartlett test of sphericity. Now, the good thing is that even if it comes in the exam, once you do one sum in SPSS, these settings become default settings. So next time you try to do a factor analysis, you just have to click on okay, and just check once. Okay, so click on coefficient, click on KMO, and this would already make marked. Extraction, select principal component. So there are two kinds of analysis. One is principal component analysis and one is principal axis analysis. So you can see over here, principal axis factoring. So when do we do principal component analysis? When there are multiple variables given to us. So like there could be 100 variables given to us and we want to find out which are the principal components. So that would be principal component. And principal axis factoring is a kind of a, like once you've found out a construct and you want to verify that, that's when you use principal axis factoring. But mostly in every case, we would be using principal component over here. Now analyze is basically based on the correlation matrix and select both unrotated. So you can select unrotated factor solution as well as tree plot. And extraction is based on eigenvalue greater than 1. So now I'm not explaining what eigenvalue is. Eigenvalue I'll explain when we get to the output. Now there are 4 types of analysis that is possible and extraction that is possible. First is based on eigenvalue. So I've mentioned eigenvalue of 1 over here, which is important when we go to the output. You could alternatively mention eigenvalue of 0.85 or 9 or whatever. And based on that eigenvalue, the number of factors will be selected. If you want a fixed number of factors, that okay, I want 3 factors, strict 3 factors. So you could put number of factors to extract, you can put 3, you can put 5, whatever. Here we are doing based on eigenvalue only. So I'll use this one. Another method would be based on the percentage of variation method. So where you want that, okay, I'll choose as many number of factors as required so that 80% of the variances of the variability is covered by the by those factors. So that 80% variance could be through one factor, could be through two factors, or 3 or 4 or 5. Okay, so that could be a method of choosing the number of variances where a percentage of variance could be covered. And the fifth one is the fourth one is through a scree plot. So you can see the scree plot over here, and using the scree plot as well, you can find out the number of factors that could be used. In this question, unfortunately, the scree plot does not show a result that is very like you can't eyeball it through the scree plot. So it's better to use the eigenvalue. If I continue, go to rotation. So now there are two kinds of rotation. One is the oblique rotation, and the other one is the orthogonal rotation. Okay, so the orthogonal rotation, basically what it does is that let's say this is a rotator, right? So for example, this is the axis, x-axis and y-axis. Now it rotates it in such a way that it still maintains a 90-degree angle. Okay, so initially the angle was like this, it rotates it like this so that the 90 degrees still maintained. So that's called orthogonal rotation. And an oblique rotation would be that, okay, this is rotated this much, but this is not rotated fully. So it's like it's not 90 degrees. Okay, so that's called a orthogonal rotation. Now here we are going to use, that is called the oblique rotation. The entire 90-degree shift is called a orthogonal rotation. So here we are going to use orthogonal rotation. So we'll choose Varimax. Okay. So there are other kinds of rotations which could be used, but for our sum, we are using Varimax. Click on rotated solution, loading plots. You can use the loading plots or not. You can uncheck them as well. Click on continue, and then go to scores. Now in scores, you can see, you can click on the save as variable. So once you click on save as variable, it will create the factor value so that F1 and F2 columns will be visible here in the output. Use regression model and click on display factor coefficient matrix. This will be important when we try and figure out the when we try and use that factor matrix in Excel to find out the factors. Click on continue and go to options. And options, you don't have to do anything, just click on continue. Now if I click OK, you'll see that two factors, factor 1, factor 2 is created over here, and these values are created over here. We'll also do these values and how to create these values in Excel as well. Okay, so let's go to the output file that has been generated. So you can see that this is the output file. First is the correlation matrix. So before I go into the output file, let me export this output file into PDF, and then I'll open the PDF, and then we'll talk through the PDF so that I can annotate in the PDF as well. Once again, I'll just pause. Okay. So what I've done is basically I've exported the file in PDF form, and I'll annotate this PDF so that it's easier for everyone to understand. So let's take the correlation matrix for example. So correlation matrix, what it says, let me just type over here. Okay, so firstly the let me change the color. Red. Okay, so the correlation matrix says that the diagonal is okay. So the diagonal value is 1. Okay, if the rest was 0, then it would be identity matrix. But since it's not 0, not identity matrix. Got it? Now you can see that here the revenue versus training. So here it's training versus revenue. The correlation is 0.493. Okay, and the training and experience and everything. So this gives you a correlation between each factor, and you can see which of the factors are correlated to each other. Now, the reason why we can't use this model in regression is that regression says that whenever you use any fields for regression, those fields should be those variables should not have any correlation. But here you can see that these fields are correlated to each other. So that's why we have to use the factor analysis to come down to two factors which are not correlated to each other. Okay, so here you can see it's correlated. If it was not correlated, then everything else could be zero, and you could say that it's an identity matrix. Now, next we come to the KMO and Bartlett's test. So in KMO and Bartlett's test, the test is that it should be greater than 0.6. So here it's less than 0.6. So sample is not adequate. Okay. Chi-square and the degree of freedom is not relevant over here. However, you can see that even if it's less than 0.6, it's very minorly less, like 0.57. It's very less. The margin is very low. So you can say that, okay, still sample is adequate. But ideally, it should be more than 0.6 to make sure that you have enough number of samples to conduct the test. Okay. Next is the significance level. So this significance level should be greater than 0.05. If it's greater than 0.05, then you can say that accept the null hypothesis. Now, what is the null hypothesis? So the null is that it's an identity matrix. But here, since it's less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. Got it? So let's move on to communality. So what is communality? Is the percentage of variance shown by each of the variables. Obviously, for the technical things, like for the exact definitions and everything, you can refer to the notes provided by sir. I'm just giving you a ballpark thing of okay what it means. So you can see that it basically means that 84% of all my changes is shown by the training. Okay. Another thing that you can do is compare this to R squared. So in R squared. In case of regression, we had learned about R squared value. So R squared value used to show us the amount of variation covered by that variable. This is very similar, but here what it says that what is the impact of training on all other variables. In R squared test and in case of regression, what we used to do was there was a y and an x, and the impact of x on each, like impact on of that x on the y. So we used to calculate the R square to find the percent of variance of y that is shown through that variable. But here you are showing the variance between the x between training and revenue experience, all of these. Not if it was just between sales and training, that would have been through regression. But here we are trying to find out the variance between the training and all other factors. So it's a communality between the factors. It's communality, not commonality. Okay. Okay. Next part is the eigenvalue. So what is eigenvalue? Okay. So the eigenvalue. So what eigenvalue shows that, let's say each of these components have a factor of 1. Okay. And what percentage of the total variance? So each of the components have a factor of 1. Now total component number is 6. So out of 6, 2.326 is the eigenvalue of component 1, which means that out of the total, so let's say it is the percentage of total variance. So it's the percentage of total variance shown by that factor. So how do you calculate that? So this percentage of variance calculated as 2.326 divided by 6 is equal to 38.761%. Okay, so this 2.326 divided by 6 percentage would give you this eigenvalue of percentage of variance of 38%. So 38% of the entire value is explained through component 1. And if you remember, we use a eigenfactor benchmark we used was 1. So anywhere, so if you remember in spaces when we put the eigenvalue as 1, so if wherever it increases by 1, wherever it exceeds 1, that will be considered for the component. So here you can see that there are two values that exceed 1. That's why going further down, you can see that there are two components given over here. If we had put a eigenvalue of 0.85 as reference, okay, let's not call it benchmark, let's call it reference. I don't know exactly what it's called technically, but if it's, let's say the reference eigenvalue was 1, so if you had put reference eigenvalue of 0.85 there, then the output would have shown a component 1, 2, and 3, all three of them. Okay, so here it would have been component 1, 2, and 3. So there would have been 3 constants. Okay. Okay, another thing that I missed over here was this figure. So communality should be greater than 0.5 to be considered relevant. So here what's happening is that this 0.623, so 0.263 is less than 0.5 and should be eliminated. So ideally what should happen is we should go back to the data, eliminate the employee factor, because what this is showing that employee factor is not that relevant when it comes to estimating the commonality between all these factors. So we should have eliminated this one. But for now we are keeping it, but it's fine. So this was something I missed earlier. Okay, eigenvalue, as I mentioned, we have taken a benchmark of 1, so that's why this is the variance. Now combined, component 1 and 2 both explain 64% of the entire variance. However, it could also be like this, that if you want to capture at least 80% of the variance, so you could take 3 factors. So that depends on the method that you chose. So if you choose eigenvalue, which is mostly chosen, then you'll get 2 over here. If you chosen percentage of variance, it would have been 3. If you had specified a fixed number, let's say I've specified that I need 4 components, so that would have been 4. And then using the scree plot, you can see that the scree plot over here is not that good of a metric to figure out the number of factors, because it's a very gradual slope, and even at 2 or 3, it's not really like visible. The slope is not really visible. Whereas if I also did the factor analysis for the second question, so you can see over here what happened was this: at 2 there was a steep fall. So what we do is we capture this point where it falls steeply, and so these 2 factors are important. This factor is not that important, so there's a steep fall over here. Whereas in this case, in this data set, there was a gradual fall because this was also very close to 1. So that's why it was not explained properly through the scree plot. So we can't use that. Okay. Other than that, I don't think anything is important in the eigenvalues. Okay. This is again just the same thing. Scree plot I've explained. Okay. Component matrix. So the component matrix is basically showing you the matrix between the, like it's a correlation between, it's the correlation between the unrotated matrix, sorry, between the factor and the variables. Okay, now because we had used the Varimax method, so it's a rotated factor analysis. So here in the rotated component matrix, this is based on the rotated factor on the orthogonal rotation. So orthogonal creation. So let's say we mention method was varimax and orthogonal rotation was done. Now, if we try and highlight the various components, so over here, let's see. So the training, sorry, I'm calling it training can be associated with the component 1. Revenue can be associated with component 1. Experience can be associated with component 1. Number of employees is associated with component 2. Number of years, component 2. And then product is component 3. So you can see all these 4 elements are associated with component 1. And this these elements are associated with component 2. Now if I go back to the text, tablet. Okay. So variables, training, revenue, experience, and products is component 1, and variables, employees, and years equal to component 2. Perhaps I should have written this earlier and just explained it, but okay. Okay, so each component represents a construct. So what is a construct? Construct could be something like, let's say, ambience of a restaurant, of a store, okay, or let's say intelligence of a buyer, or the aesthetics of the product. So these are factors which can't be really measured using a linear scale. So you can't really measure ambience through one factor. A product of all the factors that comprise of ambience will create that construct. So here we can draw a construct between the training, revenue, experience, and products. For example, if I do the construct analysis of this one, so over here for the first data set that was given to us regarding the toothpaste, you can see that here preventing cavities, strengthening gums, and so only these two were over here, which was important. So you can see that preventing cavities and strengthening gums is one component, and shiny teeth, freshness of breath, and attractive teeth is the second component. Okay, so what it says that, okay, shiny teeth, freshness, breath, and attractive teeth are all physical features that the person might like. So that is one component that someone evaluates when they go to buy a toothpaste. Whereas preventing cavities and strengthening gums is a very, I would say, health related thing. So it's like oral hygiene is important. So you can component, so when you're buying a toothpaste, there are two categories of two components that you look forward to. One is the oral hygiene and is the aesthetic thing. So that's how you basically figure out two factors, and then you run a regression on these two factors. Now it's difficult for us to kind of make these training, revenue and experience and the products into one factor, but that's one basket. Okay, this one is not that relevant, so not that relevant. Squared sum would be added to 1. Okay, so if you square them and add them, it should come to 1. Okay, component coefficient matrix. This will come. This will be useful. This is the basically factor score, useful to calculate the factor 1 and 2 in Excel. So using these factor scores and the so what we do would be the standardized values multiplied by factor score would give me the factor 1. So I'll explain this using Excel after this, but for now this is what this would be used for. And again, covariance matrix is not really important. This is the factor analysis for the second data set. So I'm not going to do same because it's almost the same thing. I've saved this data set. I'll share this with the class. And let's get into Excel and show you how to do the Excel analysis. Before I do that, I'll just copy the so I need to copy this one. So let's copy it somewhere over here. Copy. For some reason it's not copying, so I'll just copy it from the table I have over here, right? Okay, so I've copied this one here. So let's do the calculation in Excel. So you can see that we have the output, this one. Okay, so you can see the factor 1 and 2 is already here in SPSS. But if you had to calculate this manually, how would you do that? So we go to the data set. So this is my data set. The training, revenue, experience. I'll remove. Let's keep that. So firstly, what we have to do is to standardize this data. So to standardize the data, what we have to do is standardized factors, standardized variables. This would be the same again. So first thing we do is find out the average. So the average is equal to average, like the entire thing, close this, then okay, control right, and then standard deviation. Standard deviation is equal to standard stdef. Go up, select the entire thing, press enter, and then control right. Okay, now if you choose the entire data and just like this, okay, so this is the average and the standard deviation. Now we have to standardize the value, so it's equivalent to calculating the z score. So how do you standardize the variable? So standardized variable equal to value minus mean divided by standard error. So equal to value, so let's put it in bracket, so this value minus the average, this average divided by standard deviation. Now I'll fix this, so I'll do F4. So by doing F4, I'm fixing the column and the row, but here I don't need to fix the column so that I can use it everywhere. I just need to fix the row for the mean and standard deviation. So I'll click F4 again, and you can see it's the dollar sign is just before the row number. So that's what I need. I don't need to fix the column. Press enter and you'll get the standardized variable over here. Now you can just populate the entire data set over here using control down, right? Okay, so here you can see that the standardized values have been populated over here. Now we had taken this data from SPSS, where we have the component score and coefficient matrices. Just copy it and paste it over here. So let's paste and transpose, and I'll remove the formatting. So this is factor 1, this factor 2. Now if I have to calculate the factor values, so let's say factor 1, factor 2. So the formula that we would use is equal to sum product. Okay. So sum product is equal to sum product. Then you select this range. So basically sum product uses the an array function. It's an array function. Ideally, what we would have done would be that this one, this training value multiplied by this one, plus this one multiplied by this one, then this one multiplied by this one. So instead of doing that, I'm just multiplying two arrays at the same time. Now this would be variable because with every row that the value, the formula goes down, it should change. So equal to sum product. This should be variable, and then this one would be fixed in place. So I'll select this one and then do F4, and I'll fix the entire thing. Similarly, for factor 2, I'll do equal to sum product. I'll use this value, which is variable, and then I'll use this value, which is fixed, and I'll fix it completely using F4. And now you can see that I have these two factors. Now I'll just copy this entire thing down up to the entire thing, and you can see that the values are populated. These are the values that were same as what SPSS was showing me. So I'll just verify. So the first one is 0.6564 and 6756. So if I go back to SPSS, you can see 6564 and 6756 is the same factors that it was shown. Now, one important thing to note over here is that these two factors should ideally be uncorrelated. So the correlation should be 0. So you can do correl, select the entire factor 1, comma, then go to factor 2, select the entire factor 2, close the bracket. You can see that the correlation is almost 0. So that's how you use correlation to find out the correlation between two factors. Now, because both of these factors are uncorrelated with each other, we can use a regression to calculate the regression of these two factors with respect to the sales or export or whatever. And these were not correlated because you remember the correlation coefficient matrix that was there. So you can see this matrix was there where you saw that there was a correlation between the factors, but here there's no correlation coefficient. So you can see that here this component 1 and component 2 have no correlation. It's the diagonal is 1 and this is 0 and 0, which is ideal. Now another thing that you can do is to calculate the commonality. To calculate the commonality, firstly you can what we can do is calculate the rotated component, this one. So I'm trying to calculate this one, rotated component matrix. So let me calculate rotated component matrix. Okay, so what is rotated component matrix? It's basically the correlation between the variable. So let's say the training variable compared to the factor 1. So it would be equal to correlation, and then this first variable, your training, and this compared to your factor 1. Again, because I want to drag the formula together, I just want to make this fixed. And similarly, yeah, so I made that one fixed, and here I want to make the column variable but the rows fixed. So this one I'll make this and this. Right. Even if you don't do that, I think it should be fine. Let's not do that. Then you close the bracket and you should get the component matrix score. So that now you can just control right and it should give you the component matrix score for the rotated component matrix of that. Okay, now next would be for the factor 2. This is factor 1 and this would be factor 2. I hope you're not getting bored. Like I hope maybe people have already left. It's fine. But yeah, at least before the exam, I hope people will come back and watch this, because they would have to do this entire process during the exam, which would be a little tedious if you don't know how to do that. Again, this T4 and T30, this one I'll fix. So this entire thing shows you the rotated component matrix. I'll highlight this with some color. So this is the rotated component matrix. And now using the rotated component matrix, you can also calculate the commonalities. So what is commonality? It's basically the squared sum. So equal to sum square of these two. So if you do the sum square of all these values, you'll get the commonality. So you can see these. Factor 1 has a commonality of 0.845. So you can go over here and can see that the commonality, where was it? Yeah, so the commonality is 0.845774601 and so on. So I can just minimize the number of decimals. Okay, and the rotated component matrix, you can verify it from here. So the rotated component matrix was here. So it's 0.668, 0.632, 668, 632. Just increase the value. Okay, so that's how you basically once. So that's how you basically how you calculate the rotated component matrix in Excel, how you calculate the commonalities in Excel. But most probably you will not have to do it in Excel because the SPSS output is sufficient. I'll share with you the PDF as well. So where's the PDF one? This one. Yeah. So this is a PDF, and this PDF should be helpful in kind of figuring out the analysis when you do that analysis on your own. So hopefully this helped. It's a little bit long video. I think I might have crossed 40 minutes. So it's almost equivalent to one class. But anyways, I think you can watch it 2x speed and revise it later on. But thank you so much for watching. And please, let me know if you have any further like points that I missed. Perhaps I could have missed something. At least from my notes, I've covered whatever was covered in class. But if there are additional points, you can leave them in the comments below or let me know and make a video on that. So thank you so much, and bye.